A billionaire's heart transformed when he discovered a flight attendant's incredible act of kindness. Ethan Mercer stepped off the curb, the unyielding stream of honking horns and bustling pedestrians fading into the background. He adjusted the cuff of his tailored suit, the weight of his ambition pressing heavily against his chest. Every deal closed, every merger that sent his stock soaring felt more like an empty victory, leaving a hollow echo within him. As the skyscrapers loomed above, Ethan grappled with an unsettling sensation that gnawed at him: loneliness, disguised under layers of wealth and status. The corporate retreat awaited, but fulfilling his relentless ambition was what occupied his mind, far more than the lives of those back home or the colleagues he would soon ignore. On board the private jet, the hum of engines filled the air, yet his thoughts only spiraled deeper into the abyss of transactional life. Then came Mia, the flight attendant, with a warm smile that contrasted sharply with the frigid character he had built. When she handed him a crumpled note written in crayon by a child dreaming beyond their circumstances, he paused, scoffing at its simplicity. "This is trivial," he muttered, dismissing her before she even began to speak. Yet her spirit ignited a flicker in a corner of his heart long neglected, a guardian against his cynicism. As the flight ascended, Ethan remained restless, the looming charts of his corporate empire scattered in his mind: R&D budgets, renegotiated contracts, potential takeovers. He felt it, the never-ending urgency of the next deal. Moments later, chaos erupted. A medical emergency jolted him from the reverie of profits and ploys. Panic surged through the cabin, an unfamiliar sensation for a man accustomed to order. He wasn't just a billionaire sitting above the fray, he was one of them now, confronted with a crisis. In that shocking, visceral moment, Ethan's instincts kicked in. His mind raced as he began yelling directions, his voice cutting through the disarray. "Get a first aid kit. Someone call for help." Mia remained calm, attending to the afflicted passenger with an efficiency he had never seen. She moved effortlessly, her compassion evident in her every action. As he watched her work, something shifted. No longer was he a ruler surveying an empire, he was just a man, raw and exposed, facing the vulnerability of existence. The ensuing minutes drew him closer to her. Side by side, they shared stories like two wounded souls searching for grounding. He revealed fragments of his life, but in return, her dreams contrasted sharply with his hollow victories. Each interaction was a jolt of electricity, softening the hardened edges of his character, stoking a desperation he tried to suppress. Did it truly matter if he closed the next big deal? Did numbers on a screen eclipse the human connection he had avoided for so long? Before they could fully explore this newfound camaraderie, his phone buzzed violently in his pocket, a reminder of the life demanding his attention. A family member's call shattered the fragile moment, revealing a secret that reverberated through his veins, a tether connecting him to a past he thought he had outpaced. It ignited a storm within, two worlds clashing. Will he forsake the void for the numbers that defined him, or will he dare to embrace the connections threatening to redefine everything he believed? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The turbulence didn't just shudder the plane, it amplified the inner conflict within him. He stood at the precipice of a decision, locked in a vice of ambition versus emotional rebirth. The flight continued, suspended in uncertainty, as his mind raced against the inevitable landing and the life-altering crossroads he would face upon descent. Would he plunge back into the cold depths of corporate ambition, or dare to step into an unfamiliar light? The answer hung heavy in the air, unresolved, as he braced himself for what lay ahead. Ethan felt the gravitational pull of his phone, its sharp buzz piercing the cocoon of introspection formed in the aftermath of the chaos. His heart beat erratically, caught in the turbulence of unresolved emotions. It was a call he had avoided for years, a life reminder demanding attention he had long dismissed. He hesitated, the financial empire he meticulously crafted over nearly a decade suddenly feeling trivial compared to the raw thread of familial ties unraveling before him. Mia looked at him, her brow furrowing with concern as the phone buzzed again. He put his hand on the device, feeling its heat thrumming against his skin, and took a deep breath. Would answering it pull him back into the tunnel of loneliness he desperately wanted to escape? Or could it be an opportunity for connection, a chance to mend what had long been left unattended? As the realization washed over him, a flicker of clarity surged through him. There was a need to confront the past, a need to understand himself beyond the deal sheets and stock prices that had come to define his existence. With a resolve he didn't know he possessed, he pressed the green button. The voice on the other end struck him like a lightning bolt, a familiar blend of disappointment and concern cascading through the line. Ethan's mother, the woman whose sacrifices shaped him yet whose needs he had ignored for far too long. It was painful, yet a moment of unexpected vulnerability, as each word reminded him of all he had escaped both physically and emotionally. Conversing felt like peeling layers off a scabbed-over wound, each revelation igniting the numbness with real feelings he thought he had transcended. "I need you to come home for your brother's wedding," she implored. Ethan remained silent, the impending familial event conjuring images of laughter, chaos, and a kinship he had not only distanced himself from but had forgotten altogether. Mia, who watched closely, sensed the gravity of the moment. "You don't have to do this alone, Ethan," she said softly, breaking through the tension wrapping around him. "You have people who care." Her words, steeped in nonchalance yet powerful, offered a quiet strength as he weighed the importance of personal bonds against the relentless onslaught of corporate ambition. "Maybe addressing the past doesn't mean sacrificing my future," he mused, the realization striking him with an intensity that turned his inward reflection into an outward action. The call ended, but the transformation remained, igniting a flicker of hope within the shadowy recesses of his mind. Would facing his family, especially his brother whom he had never fully supported, provide him with the connection he craved? As the plane sliced through the clouds, a sanctuary of calm engulfed him. The corporate world would undoubtedly still beckon, the deals would still offer their tantalizing allure, but for the first time, he felt a pull in a different direction, a path towards emotional authenticity, and perhaps, into the goodwill Mia had embodied. He wasn't merely navigating the rigid structures of business anymore, he was beginning to understand the structure of personal relationships, which had been neglected for all too long. The landing approached, and with it, clarity descended upon him like sunlight piercing through dense fog. The inner conflict that had bound him now found resolution and potential. As the plane's wheels touched the runway, he realized he stood at another crossroads, one that demanded more than a mere choice. It beckoned for commitment, a commitment to embody the warmth that Mia represented and the vulnerabilities that he needed to embrace. Before he could step fully into this uncertain new chapter, Mia walked over. "Ethan," she said, her tone lighter yet firm, "if you're looking to make a change, I think it's time to act on it. Don't wait until it's too late." Her sincerity echoed his internal transformation, a reminder that life requires risking the familiar to pursue the meaningful. Ethan nodded, an ember of determination igniting within him. It was time to shift focus, not just on the survival of his accolades, but toward flourishing connections. As they descended the steps from the jet, he felt the fresh air replacing the stale confines of his previous life. What awaited him on solid ground was unknown, yet the prospect of confronting the very ache he had tried to bury filled him with a renewed sense of purpose. But as he stepped onto the tarmac, a voice in the back of his mind whispered a looming uncertainty. Would the ties that had once bound him now become chains that restrained his growth? The question echoed taunting as he took his first steps toward redefining not just his business legacy, but his personal one. The moment of truth approached, and he could almost taste it. Ethan took his first steps off the tarmac, each one heavier than the last as anticipation mingled with anxiety. The air was thick with the scent of earth and growth elements he had overlooked for years while immersed in his corporate pursuits. The chaos of familial connections awaited him, a battleground riddled with unkind memories and unresolved issues. Yet, for the first time, he felt a flicker of readiness, a strange convergence of vulnerability and courage bubbling beneath the surface. Mia trailed closely behind him, her presence a calming balm against the impending storm of emotions. They made their way to the car that would take them to his childhood home, and Ethan observed the landscape shift outside the window, the familiar but distant flicker of streetlights illuminating memories etched in each corner of his mind. "Are you ready for this?" Mia asked, her voice slicing through the silence like a finely honed edge. The question resonated with Ethan, forcing him to confront the core of his fear. It wasn't just about returning, it was about facing all he had left behind: his brother's dreams, his mother's sacrifices, and the fractured relationships he had allowed to grow over the years. "I don't know," he finally admitted, glancing at her. "I feel like I'm walking into a battlefield without armor." Uncertainty dripped from his words, laden with the gravity of unresolved guilt. Mia reached for his hand, her grip steady and reassuring. "You may not have all the answers, but you have now. You can decide how you want this chapter to unfold." His mind raced, oscillating between fear and determination. Could he truly reshape the narrative he had scripted through avoidance? The thought terrified him, yet simultaneously ignited a spark of adrenaline. In the corporate realm, he faced risks with calculated strategies and crisp decision-making. But here lay a different kind of gamble, fraught with emotional volatility. As they pulled into the driveway, Ethan felt his heartbeat quicken, rhythmically tapping out a distress signal. The house loomed ahead, a fortress of nostalgia and tension, and suddenly, every achievement he had amassed felt trivial against the weight of familial bonds. With a deep breath, he stepped from the car and approached the door, its wooden frame a threshold between his past and potential future. His hand trembled slightly as he raised it to knock, every second expanding into eternity. Just as he withdrew, the door swung open, revealing his mother standing there, her expression a mixture of relief and apprehension. "Ethan," her voice cracked slightly, and in that instant, he saw the remnants of a past that demanded acknowledgement. Would this reunion unfurl the wounds he thought were healed, or would it fortify the chains of guilt that tethered him still? "Mama," he began, his voice fighting against the tremors that threatened to unravel him. As she stepped forward, the embrace enveloped him like a long-overdue apology, a balm for the years lost. In the warmth of her presence, something shifted within him, a realization dawning that family was not merely an obligation but a source of strength, a network of shared experiences threaded with love and pain. But just as he began to glimpse the possibility of reconnecting, a voice echoed in his mind, a reminder of the expectations he had run from and the judgments that awaited him. Would he rise above the chaos or let it define him? As they stepped inside, Ethan's heart raced. The laughter of family reached his ears, a flurry of conversations that spoke both of joy and tension. Each sound was a challenge, beckoning him to engage, to confront not just his family but the very essence of who he had become. "Ethan." The casual call of his brother reverberated through the room like a clarion call, igniting a firestorm of emotions. The time had come to face everything he had avoided: the doubts, the missed moments, and the unreciprocated support. Ethan squared his shoulders, each breath a step toward a new reality, one where he might find redemption. But as he stepped into the familial fray, an unsettling realization washed over him. What if they did not welcome the new Ethan? The fear of rejection loomed large, an unwelcome companion to his journey of self-discovery. With uncertainty swirling around him like a storm, he questioned whether he could navigate this unexpected labyrinth of love and legacy without losing himself in the process. The answers tantalized him, yet were dangerously close to slipping through his fingers. Ethan stood in the entryway, the cacophony of family life swirling around him, each laugh a reminder of what he had distanced himself from. The illumination from the living room lamp created a shadow behind which his insecurities lurked. He felt suddenly small amidst the grandeur of their shared history. "Ethan." Finally. His brother Kyle raised an arm in greeting, his smile wide but shadowed with unspoken complexities. Ethan's heart stumbled as he took a hesitant step forward. The tension between them hummed like an electric wire, memories of rivalry and longing crackling at the edges. "Hey," Ethan responded, attempting to match his brother's exuberance while suppressing his internal trepidation. What did Kyle really think of him now? The casual atmosphere belied a deeper discord, a hidden dance of emotions swirling beneath cheery pleasantries. They exchanged the familiar phrases, the weight of each word felt amplified by the years of absence. As Kyle clapped a hand on his shoulder, a chill ran through Ethan. Was it camaraderie or a mere reminder of the distance still to traverse? Ethan turned away, trying to catch a breath of calm, and found himself in the modest kitchen, where the aroma of baked goods wafted through the air. It was his mother's territory, her refuge, and the heart of their home, yet it was also a scene of sheer vulnerability. Underneath the warm glow of incandescent lights, Ethan noticed his mother's hands, aged and weathered. They were evidence of both hard work and abandonment, the consequences of her unwavering devotion. "Mama, these look amazing," he managed, stepping closer. She busied herself at the counter, her back to him. "They're your favorites," she replied softly, a hint of nostalgia lacing her words. "I know," he said, hoping to reach her emotionally. "I've missed you." Finally, she turned, her eyes clear and searching. "Ethan, you've changed. I can feel it." He nodded, the truth wrapping around him tightly. "I have. I needed to find myself." Yet, did she truly understand what he felt? He silently questioned if he was merely playing the role of the son she remembered, a facade that pressed on him like an unwelcome coat. "Good. We all need to change," she murmured, her gaze steady yet probing. Beneath her calm exterior, he sensed a storm of feelings simmering just beneath the surface, a myriad of memories she had carried. But some things, some wounds, they still ache. The admission struck him deeply, causing a churning discomfort in his gut. Had he inadvertently inflicted those wounds? Ethan recalled their history, the choices he made when he left home, the silence that ensued, the unfilled spaces at the dinner table. Each absence became a brick in the wall that had separated them. "Can we talk?" Ethan's voice cracked as he ventured forward, vulnerability blooming within him. Suddenly, a loud laugh echoed down the hallway, jolting him from his thoughts. The family was alive and thriving, even with the weight he felt pressing down. With each chuckle, a challenge awaited: would he engage or retreat? His fingers brushed the edge of the counter, grounding him as he plunged into the flow of conversation. He steeled himself, observing everyone, searching for cues on where he could fit in. Disappointment, delight, and uncertainty flickered through his thoughts, battling for supremacy. "You're still silent," Kyle noted, a teasing edge in his voice. "Come on, bro, don't go all corporate on us now. Share your insights." Laughter surrounded him, but the weight of expectation hung heavy in the air. Ethan sensed the gaze of his family on him, waiting for something: an explanation, a relief, or simply an opening to step through the door he had left ajar. "Okay," he inhaled sharply. "I'm ready to talk." Yet, as he looked around, a deeper concern emerged. Could he truly reveal the intricate layers of his struggle to the very people he had once turned away from? And, more importantly, did he have the courage to bear his vulnerabilities? Just as he began to speak, a sharp knock reverberated through the house, interrupting the flow of energy. A momentary silence fell, punctuated by a collective glance toward the door. Who stood on the threshold of this fragile reunion, ready to challenge or change everything again? Ethan's heart pounded as curiosity morphed into apprehension, wondering if this unexpected visitor would unearth buried secrets or deepen the rift he feared facing. As the echo of the knock faded, Ethan's heartbeat quickened, its rhythm amplifying the tension that had just begun to ease. The door stood as a barrier between his complicated past and the uncertain present. Unresolved feelings churned within him: curiosity, fear, and an odd sense of expectation combined to form a knot in his stomach. Who could that be? His mother mused, wiping her hands on a dish towel, the warm smile of earlier fading into apprehension. The chatter in the room dulled, anticipation thickening the atmosphere. "Probably just a neighbor," Kyle shrugged, though his eyes flicked toward the door, betraying his own curiosity. The rest of the family remained silent, caught in a moment that felt like a suspended breath, waiting for something, anything to shift. Ethan was rooted to the spot, a silent observer in a drama that felt all too familiar yet unsettlingly foreign. Would this be another chapter that added layers to the story of his distancing, opening wounds that had barely begun to heal? The thoughts collided chaotically in his mind, pushing him to the brink of confrontation with himself. With another knock, sharper and more insistent, Ethan's body reacted. He took a step toward the door, driven by an impulse to take control, if only for a moment. The cool doorknob felt foreign under his palm, but he turned it anyway, pushing the door open just as fear surged through him. A figure stood framed by the dim light of the porch. It was Helen, his childhood neighbor and close family friend. She looked more mature, yet the familiar warmth of her presence was unmistakable, evident in her compassionate gaze. He hadn't seen her in years, and yet it felt like a part of his long-buried self had surfaced with her arrival. "Ethan!" she exclaimed, her face lighting up with a smile that brimmed with genuine joy. "I heard you were back in town. I had to come by and see you." Her voice was a soothing balm, yet it momentarily distracted him from the emotional cocoon he had entered. He opened the door wider, inviting her into the swirl of familial warmth laced with unresolved emotions. "Hey, Helen," he managed, his voice uneven. "It's good to see you." In her presence, unresolved feelings slipped slightly aside, making room for a sliver of hope. Perhaps she would be a bridge back to the connections he had severed. But as she stepped inside, a dart of insecurity nudged him. Did she embody the past he was trying to reclaim or the future he desperately desired? "Everyone's here. Come on in," she urged, stepping through the threshold, her infectious energy lightening the air around them. The family breathed as one, a mixture of surprise and delight breaking out like firecrackers. Laughter resumed, and for a moment, the earlier tension melted away in the glow of old memories. Yet Ethan felt a gravity pulling him in two directions, the lightness she brought and the weight of his silence. He wandered into the living room, where Helen's laughter fused with the warmth of familial banter. Yet inside him, the worry lingered. Could he truly engage with the past when fragments of it began to surface with her presence? Was he prepared for surprises lurking in these conversations about the people he had tried to avoid? A few minutes passed, the conversations flowing freely, and Ethan observed as Kyle and Helen exchanged playful banter. The seamless ease between them made Ethan keenly aware of how far he had drifted from this sense of belonging. Just then, the conversation shifted, a fleeting mention of a difficult incident that had stained the neighborhood's tranquility years ago, the kind of topic that could ricochet painfully through his family, strumming the strings of history they all tried to rewrite. Suddenly, awareness pricked at his sides, an uneasy realization that he couldn't stay in the shadows forever. In that instant, with laughter echoing around him, Ethan recognized a stark choice before him: to share his truth or let silence loom larger than ever. As he wrestled with this internal conflict, he pondered what revelations awaited if he stepped fully into the chaos of family life, setting aside the shielding walls he deconstructed. Just as he began to contemplate speaking up, his mother glanced at him, an unspoken question lingering in her eyes. Would he contribute to the fabric of this moment, or step back again, rendered silent by the weight of his unacknowledged struggles? Ethan drew in a breath, feeling the moment teeter on the brink. The fragile facade of his newfound self threatened to crack under the weight of expectation. Could he share the burden he had been carrying, rewrite the narrative with honesty instead of fear? Before he could formulate an answer, another knock resounded through the house, bloodying the hopeful pulse of family connection. Everyone turned to the door once more, uncertainty rising like tides. What awaited him beyond that threshold now? And would he seize the moment or let it slip away again? The unexpected knock cut sharply through the vibrant chatter of the room, bringing a stillness that felt heavy with anticipation. Ethan's heart raced, escalating the tension like a drumbeat in a symphony waiting to climax. The door, now a symbol of both barrier and opportunity, loomed before him again. He was no longer just a passive observer, he could feel the currents of choice pulling at him, demanding a response. "Nobody else is going to want to get that," Kyle muttered, shifting nervously in his seat. The playful banter dissipated, leaving an undercurrent of concern hanging in the air. Ethan's gaze darted around the room, where familiar faces bore expressions ranging from curiosity to outright anxiety. What if it was a ghost from his past, another reminder of everything he had tried to escape? Or worse, what if it was someone seeking to reveal hidden truths, stories he wasn't ready to confront? "Ethan?" Helen's voice cut through his vortex of thoughts, drawing his attention back to the present. She wore a gentle smile, urging him to break free from the constraints he had placed on himself. A flicker of determination ignited within him. Wasn't this precisely what he had sought? A chance to re-engage, to confront his past rather than flee from it? With a resolute inhale, he approached the door, hand trembling slightly as it gripped the doorknob. As he turned it and pulled the door open, a rush of cold air spilled inside, carrying with it an unfamiliar scent. Standing in the doorway was an older gentleman, someone he recognized immediately, Mr. Thompson, the local real estate mogul and one of the few figures from his childhood who had the power to evoke a deep-seated mix of admiration and apprehension. "Ethan." The man boomed, his impressive stature casting a shadow that momentarily eclipsed the warmth of the living room. "I had to come see you after hearing you were back. Your parents mentioned you've made quite the name for yourself." Ethan could feel the weight of expectation in those words, an unspoken challenge. Mr. Thompson had always been a symbol of achievement in Ethan's life, a person who seemed to have it all figured out. But there was a paradox in that admiration. It was mixed with Ethan's fear of inadequate reflection. Would their conversation require him to confront the truth of his choices? "Yeah, it's been a journey," Ethan replied cautiously, feeling the eyes of his family on him, horrified and intrigued by this unexpected arrival. The moment felt electric with potential. Here was an opportunity, perhaps, to discuss ambitions that lay dormant during his years of self-imposed exile. "The world doesn't stop for anyone, Ethan. I want to talk about some upcoming projects I'm working on. I believe you could bring something unique to the table." Ethan considered the audacity of this proposition. A part of him wanted to refuse outright, to remain comfortable in his isolation. Yet another part, perhaps the more ambitious side that had always longed for recognition, stirred eagerly at the mention of new opportunities. The duality of his feelings was almost debilitating. Could he take that leap? The stakes were high. He risked not only vulnerability but also a distraction from the family gathering, from reconnecting with those he'd evaded for so long. Just then, Helen appeared beside him, breaking through his reverie. "Ethan, you should hear him out," she encouraged, her tone filled with warmth and sincerity. "This could be a chance for you." Her support sent a ripple of warmth through him, pulling him back from the depths of indecision. Kyle leaned in slightly, his curious expression mirroring Ethan's internal debate. Could this be the turning point, the moment he began to step out of the shadows of self-doubt? Taking a deep breath, he nodded at Mr. Thompson. "Let us talk." As he closed the door with a resolute click, a shiver of uncertainty coursed through him, underscored by the realization that he was now inviting profound changes into his life. Would this encounter divert him from embracing the connections with his family that were just beginning to rekindle? The tension swelled within him. Problems from his past and future opportunities clashed and danced like a storm brewing in the sky. Ethan suddenly recognized the storm was not an enemy but an intrinsic part of his evolution. It was time to confront the intertwined fabric of his history and aspirations. Yet as he prepared for the ensuing conversation, a cloud of unease dimmed the light of his determination. What new challenges await me? He wondered silently, faced with the undeniable truth that the future he craved was forged in the fires of confrontation. The moment of truth had arrived, and he was compelled to meet it head-on. The dim light of the dining room seemed to flicker as Ethan closed the door behind him, stepping into the private world that lay on the other side. He felt a wave of sensations course through him: excitement, anxiety, hope, and the unmistakable chill of past shadows. Mr. Thompson's presence seemed to expand the small space they occupied, an echo of past encounters where the older man had always seemed larger than life, a figure to look up to. Seated at the plush chairs in line with the warm oak table, Ethan could now see the man before him without the constraints of others watching. "I've always thought potential is the most underrated asset we have," Mr. Thompson was saying, his voice carrying a confident lilt. "You've got what it takes to make a real impact, Ethan. I've been impressed by what I've seen. But we both know that potential only matters if you act on it." "There's a lot to consider," Ethan replied carefully, still grappling with the duality of admiration and doubt. The very thought of stepping back into the realm of ambition sent tremors through him. What if he failed? What if he succeeded? The specter of self-doubt loomed larger than ever. "Consider everything," Mr. Thompson continued, leaning slightly forward. "You've been running away from opportunities for too long. I get it, we often seek safety in obscurity. But here's the truth: people like us, the ambitious, the driven, we thrive under pressure. It defines us." His words hung in the air, sharp and undeniable. Ethan's chest tightened as he absorbed the implications. The pressure was daunting yet alluring. Was this his chance to reshape his narrative, to reclaim a part of himself he'd buried years ago? In the depths of his mind, he couldn't shake off the daunting realization: if he wanted to change his world, he had to step outside of his comfort zone. What kind of projects? He asked, using a semblance of professionalism to mask his inner turmoil. Mr. Thompson's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. I'm developing this real estate venture, integrating modern technology with sustainable living principles. We're in need of someone who understands both the market and innovation. I see that in you. Your ability to think outside the box sets you apart. But here's the thing: I need a commitment. This isn't a part-time gig, I'm looking for a partner. The concept of partnership with someone of Mr. Thompson's caliber raised a tide of conflicting emotions in Ethan. Could he trust himself to emerge triumphant against potential obstacles? What if his previous failures echoed strongly here? And yet, the thought of collaborating with an industry titan was intoxicating. He took a moment to breathe deeply. My life is a bit complex right now, he admitted, watching Mr. Thompson's discerning gaze, the unyielding assessment that scrutinized him like a well-crafted puzzle. I'm trying to balance coming back home and reconnecting with my family. Family is important, sure, Mr. Thompson replied without flinching. But don't forget, opportunities like this are finite. You'll have to decide if revisiting the past entangles you or motivates you to leap into unexplored territories. Ethan's mind raced. He envisioned a future where he could seamlessly harmonize the personal with the professional. Could he be both the son trying to reconnect with family and the ambitious man who dares to create and build? The thought infused him with an exhilarating burst of clarity. He could forge a new identity that embraced all aspects of his life. As he prepared to respond, Ethan felt a quiet determination coalescing within him. His silence suddenly felt charged with possibilities. He could redefine his parameters. Okay, he began, finding solid ground amidst uncertainty. Let us explore this opportunity. Just as he felt the pressure lift, a sudden doubt crept into his thoughts. But could this new pursuit truly align with everything he desired? And what repercussions would it bring for his family relationships? He glanced at Mr. Thompson, who appeared expectant, leaning back as if preparing to introduce Ethan to the unknown world of collaboration and ambition. This is going to be a challenge, Ethan thought. But what lies ahead could change everything. He instinctively sensed there was still much to discover about not only this new opportunity but within himself. The real challenge was looming, and he needed to harness the dimensions of his identity he had long neglected. With resolve, Ethan asked, "What do I need to do to get started?" The answer would open doors he hadn't even thought about until now, pushing him to confront deeper personal truths he had long left unexamined. Would he rise to meet them, or would he falter once again? This chapter was barely beginning, the real transformation still ahead. The air in the room shifted as Mr. Thompson leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with an intensity that made Ethan feel both exhilarated and anxious. First, he said slowly, I want you to evaluate your current situation. Think about what you want to achieve, not just in terms of career, but in life. What drives you? What are you passionate about? Ethan hesitated, the weight of the question settling heavily on his shoulders. It was easier to push aside reflections of passion, safer to dwell in the realm of practicalities. He shifted in his seat, remembering the tangled emotions entwined with his family obligations. What if reconnecting with them meant scattering the seeds of new aspirations? I want to create, he finally said, surprising himself with his clarity. But I also want to reconnect with my family. I don't want to lose that connection again. Mr. Thompson nodded, the lines of his face softening. Good. But understand, you'll need to be deliberate. You can't leave your ambitions to chance. Define your goals. Write them down. Make a plan. The idea of crafting a detailed plan felt simultaneously liberating and daunting. He recalled how in the past, he had often allowed his ambitions to remain nebulous, floating just out of reach. What if my ambitions conflict with my family's expectations? Ethan asked, stifling a wave of doubt. Then you have to confront that conflict, Mr. Thompson replied, leaning back with a thoughtful expression. Your journey isn't about pleasing anyone else, it's about discovering who you truly are. Navigate that tension. Trust yourself to handle it. Speak to them about your dreams. The prospect of transparency was frightening. Was he ready to lay bare his ambitions, to risk their disapproval? The thought made his heart race. He fought the urge to retreat into safer territory but sensed the urgency of holding himself accountable. Okay, Ethan replied, the words beginning to fill with weight. He absorbed the resolve behind his affirmation. I'll do it. What's the next step? Next, we dive into the project, Mr. Thompson said, his excitement palpable. But it won't be easy. I'll expect you to dedicate your energy, build networks, and adapt to challenges. You will face setbacks, and I want to see how you respond. Setbacks. Ethan knew them all too well. Each failed attempt exposed him to a new layer of vulnerability. It was precisely that vulnerability he had long avoided. I'll rise to it, he affirmed, gritting his teeth against the gnawing doubt that threatened to surface. Excellent, Mr. Thompson replied, the corners of his mouth quirking upwards. We will meet every week to discuss progress. You'll also need to start networking, attending industry events. Surround yourself with innovators who will challenge you. A budding sense of excitement began to take root as he imagined thriving amid like-minded individuals. Where do I find these networks? The city is rich with opportunities, Mr. Thompson explained. Just put yourself out there. As the conversation unfolded, Ethan felt a tremor of anticipation coursing through him. The tasks were daunting, yet they presented a path toward redefining who he was. Could he really become that ambitious entrepreneur he'd once dreamed of being? Your success hinges on your commitment, Mr. Thompson stressed again, but remember, this journey is labyrinthine. Each corner you turn may lead to unexpected intersections between your personal and professional life. Ethan nodded, feeling a galvanizing force pushing him forward. He could sense the budding changes, but with it came apprehension about his family. Would he be able to weave this new path around them, without neglecting their feelings? The meeting wrapped up, and as he stepped outside into the cool dusk air, a cloud of uncertainty hung over him. The city appeared vibrant and alive, an endless expanse of possibilities. He felt as if he were about to step onto a path fraught with complexity and danger, yet it was this very unpredictability igniting a fire within him. As Ethan made his way home, he wrestled with the twin challenges of ambition and family. Deep down, he knew that the real work had just begun, unraveling the threads of connection waiting to be woven anew into his life. What kind of confrontation with his family awaited him? Would they embrace his decision to chase his ambitions or push him back into the shadows of doubt? Each step felt charged with potential, yet the true test lay just ahead, looming in the darkness. Ethan awoke the following morning to the soft rays of sunlight spilling through his bedroom window, illuminating the scattered remnants of yesterday's uncertainty. His heart raced as he recalled his commitment to lay bare his ambitions before his family. The thought filled him with a twinge of both excitement and fear. The mere idea of unveiling his aspirations seemed to provoke a whirlwind of emotions within him. Did he really possess the courage to confront the people he loved most? As he prepared for work, Ethan caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror, the reflection of a man caught between two conflicting worlds. His professional life loomed, vibrant and dynamic, filling him with a sense of purpose. But home felt like a treacherous maze, memories merging with anticipation, each twist threatening to ensnare him in familial expectations. The day ahead involved meetings and discussions that once felt trivial but now pulsed with newfound significance. Each interaction was an opportunity to network, to engage with individuals who might share his vision or inspire him further. He gathered his materials, meticulously outlining his objectives. Clarity was his ally against the encroaching doubt. In the office, Ethan fought the instinct to retreat into the safety of routine. He approached a colleague, Sarah, whom he admired from afar. Her drive and innovative thinking had always impressed him, and connecting with her could provide valuable insight. "Hey, Sarah," he began, holding his breath as he stepped outside his comfort zone, "I was wondering if you'd be free to collaborate on a project next week?" His nerves were palpable as she considered his request, but her smile was encouraging. "Absolutely, Ethan. I think it could be really rewarding, she responded. Relief washed over him, followed closely by the exhilaration of taking a step towards his goal. As their conversation continued, he began to visualize the collaborations and opportunities that could arise from engaging with the right people. Each promising exchange felt like a stone placed on his path, building a solid foundation beneath his feet. But even as he embraced this new resolve, the niggling worry about his family nagged at the borders of his mind. What would they think when he expressed his intentions? The script he'd rehearsed formed and dissolved like mist, leaving behind just anxiety. Later that day, while scrolling through his phone, Ethan saw an announcement for a local entrepreneur meetup. It was an invitation to take another leap, to immerse himself in an environment bursting with talent and innovation. Gripped by determination, he registered for the event, though lingering fears tugged at him. He would wade deeper into this new world, but the thought of discussing his ambitions there intersected with his internal battle over family loyalty. The next evening found him on the cusp of a transformative experience. Arriving at the venue, he was engulfed by the buzz of conversation and laughter, people effortlessly sharing ideas and aspirations. Invigorated by the atmosphere, Ethan felt parts of himself stirring awake, but he couldn't shake the apprehensive connection to his family lying just beneath the surface. He roamed the space with newfound vigor, exchanging names and visions with various individuals, until he sensed a familiar face from a distance. There stood his mentor, Mr. Thompson, engaged in a discussion that exuded confidence. The sight electrified him, and he made his way over, ready to absorb his guidance. As the two began to chat, Ethan felt a rush of clarity. This was more than just a professional endeavor, it was a personal revolution. Yet, as he shared his excitement, a sharp pang of guilt struck him. His family was still waiting at the periphery of his new life. Would he finally gather the courage to bring them into his vision? Wrestling with his thoughts, Ethan knew a juxtaposition was forming within him, a brewing confrontation that could either bolster or shatter his resolve. The city pulsed around him, a fitting backdrop for the seismic shift occurring within. Ethan's phone buzzed, a message from his younger sister, a simple inquiry about a family gathering this weekend. It was a gentle reminder of the ties that bound him, and the obligation that tethered him to choices both old and potentially new. How would he approach the impending family conversations he'd once avoided? Would he speak his truth or mask it beneath the familiar comforts of silence? In that uncertain moment, he understood, the true challenge wasn't just pursuing his ambitions but reconciling them with the love that grounded him. How he would navigate this overlapping terrain became the next question burning in his heart, propelling him toward an inevitable confrontation. What awaited him on the other side? Ethan stood at the threshold of his family home, a familiar yet alien landscape unfolding before him. The warmth of laughter and the clinking of glasses were a comforting embrace, yet an undercurrent of dread stirred within him. He had spent years avoiding these moments, prioritizing ambition over connection, but this time felt hauntingly different. He had committed to sharing not just his successes, but his vulnerabilities as well. Stepping inside, he absorbed the scene around him, family members animatedly recounting stories, children darting about, and the aroma of his mother's cooking enveloping him like a hug. The air buzzed with an infectious energy, yet Ethan felt as if he were wading through thick fog, trying to find clarity amid the chaos. "Mama, can I help with anything?" he asked, his voice steady despite his internal tempest. His mother turned, her face brightening as she looked up at him. "Oh sweetheart, just make sure the table is set," she replied, her smile radiating warmth. Yet, beneath her bright facade, Ethan sensed an unspoken question lingering. Would this be the same son she had lost to corporate ambitions? As he moved about, he felt the eyes of his siblings on him, a mix of curiosity and apprehension. This was his moment to bridge the chasm that had widened over the years. Taking a deep breath, he cast aside the baggage of self-doubt and resolved to reveal the man he was becoming. "Hey everyone, can I grab your attention for a minute?" Ethan called, his voice cutting through the ambient laughter. The room fell into a hush, all eyes turned toward him, each gaze an invitation and a challenge. "What's up, big bro?" Kyle asked, leaning forward with a hint of teasing that he always did, yet his sincerity came through. Ethan's heart raced, yet the weighted air around him transformed into a palpable energy, electrifying the room with anticipation. "I've been thinking a lot about what it means to be part of this family and what I've missed while I've been off chasing my goals." His mother's gaze softened, and quiet understanding flickered in her eyes. "I've spent so much time focused on succeeding in my career," he continued, the importance of each word anchoring him in the moment. "But in doing so, I lost sight of the connections that mean the most to me. I want to make amends. I want to reconnect." Ethan silenced the rumbles of doubt gnawing at him. It was the truth, stripped bare, but he felt the release with each confession. "I also want to share something else. I've been given an incredible opportunity that intertwines my professional ambitions with a vision I hold close," he said, watching the curiosity bloom in their eyes. "I'm partnering with someone to embark on a pioneering project that focuses on sustainable living. It's a chance to create something meaningful." A beat of silence followed, and then Kyle broke into applause, the tension transforming into enthusiastic cheers and applause. "That's amazing, Ethan. You finally put your business smarts into something impactful." His mother stepped forward, pride sparkling in her eyes. "Oh, Ethan, that's wonderful. I always knew you could achieve great things." The recognition fueled him further. "But I want you all to be part of this journey," he added, emboldened by his family's enthusiasm. "Your support means everything to me. I want us to grow together to inspire one another. You are my foundation." Tears brimmed in his mother's eyes as she stepped closer, gripping him tightly. "You have always been our beacon of hope, my dear. You've rekindled a light in our lives. We are so proud of you for pursuing this." As he embraced his mother, Ethan felt the walls he deconstructed around his heart slowly crumble away. Each word of encouragement fortifying his commitment not just to professional success, but to nurturing the familial bonds he had once neglected. In the warmth of the kitchen, he saw the smiling faces of his siblings as they shared their unfiltered reactions, laughter mixed with tender revelations. They spoke of their own aspirations, and for the first time, Ethan realized that growth did not have to be a solitary endeavor. It flourished with shared experience. Later that evening, as the family gathered around the table, conversations bubbled over like the dishes that filled their plates. In every shared laugh, every bite taken, Ethan felt an unfamiliar joy wash over him, a deep satisfaction that transcended success defined merely by dollar signs. This was true achievement, the bond they all shared, the love they poured into each moment, and the unwavering support they offered one another. Ethan had stepped into a new reality, one where ambition and love coexisted harmoniously. He emerged transformed, a man who had once grappled with loneliness and disconnection, now a son, a brother, and a partner ready to conquer not just his industry, but the heart of what it meant to belong. This was true wealth, and intrinsic value recognized not through mere transaction but through heartfelt dialogue and shared triumphs. He had accomplished more than he had envisioned, and in doing so, he had proven to himself that his growth was just beginning. It was time for a new chapter, one filled with connection, fulfillment, and a legacy his family would build together. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others find transformative tales like Ethan's. Comment your reactions and theories about this ending. We want to hear your thoughts. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to inspire those around you.